Alright, what's up everyone to our day 24 of being unemployed with a PhD. I'm gonna discuss the crypto update. I'm gonna talk about some of the job interviews that I had, and I actually got to watch Ballerina again. Yeah, I will discuss that as well. Obviously, if you notice, we're starting a John Wick series. We already did the first one on the channel, especially after now that I consider John Wick to be the greatest film franchise of all time. Yay! The other two hosts, they're kind of on vacation, so they'll be back soon, and then we'll discuss the second movie. But right now, let me just jump into the crypto update. So I did talk on LinkedIn that we are a little bit bearish right now because look what happened here. Let's go back to... So we had the April dip because of the tariffs, and then we rallied up from 74. We kept holding the bands all the way, the green bands, all the way to the breaking of all-time high at reaching 112. So the previous all-time high was around 110. We broke that, but it didn't hold. So if we want the trend to continue, to keep holding, we usually need to consolidate around all-time highs, right? So this is not what happened. We broke all-time high, then went back in below 110, and we started consolidating here. This is why it was kind of seen that we're just back into range and we're just gonna be ranging again. So what happened is that we did try to push back towards all-time high again, but that didn't happen. Just formed a lower high, right? And then we have another lower high here at 108. It just shows that price is just not able to push up, right? And what we noticed is that kept trying to push up, it wasn't able to do so. Kept trying to push up, wasn't able to do so, and then we just went down below the Fibonacci line here, and the bands are flipping finally red. Closed yesterday, when it closed yesterday. So it is clear that we are kind of in a distribution setting where the smart money is just trying to sell slowly, and it was kind of expected because we did not range for a long time after the election pump. So we broke all-time high at the election day, kept pushing until end of December. We broke it again on inauguration, but that was it. There was not any more catalysts. So price needs to calm down a little bit before it can push even further. This did not happen for long enough, especially since last time it took it like 8 months of ranging, right? Right now we're only like at like 5 or 6, and another evidence that supports this is that we did not retest any of the previous elements of the trend, because we do expect that if I take it from low to low, we do expect some retest at least to the 0.382 or the 0.5 fib, but this did not happen. It just kept pushing up. We do expect some retest because price has memory, right? This did not happen yet. This is why I was saying we're kind of bearish. And if you look here, you'll notice that the funding rate is it's positive, it's neutral, right? So 0.01 is considered in the neutral, but it is staying positive even though price is going down. So if price is going down and the funding rate is going up, that's bearish, right? And it seems that the longs keep trying to push the price up. They're just not giving up. The longs are not giving up, but it's just clear that it's not gonna able to come back anytime soon. It has to do some retests of the previous fib lines at least. And this is what we saw here. Now you might say, oh, but why isn't it going down? If that's the case, why isn't it going down that fast? Because right now it's still holding the 50 EMA. We are waiting for it. I mean, it's not. It's obvious, right? It pushed down, held the 50 EMA. Pushed down right at the 50 EMA. Here, almost the 50 EMA. Here, it went below the 50 EMA, but then closed above it, right? So we are still around the 50 EMA, 50-day EMA area, which is probably where the longs are positioned. They're just trying to get in, but it seems that, at least that's what my analysis tells me, they're not gonna last long. No pun intended here. It's just a matter of time before we push a little lower. I don't know how low will we go, but I do have a short open, probably like take profit. We'll see. Around the 100 area, we'll see. Is it gonna break 100? I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does, because look, like this whole thing was too strong. We do expect some kind of retest of it, and it would be quite interesting to see how the war is gonna affect all of this, because I also think that some of the positioning is related to the speculation about what's going to happen with the whole war and how is it going to affect everything, right? So if the war hits, obviously we expect oil prices to go up, right? So oil is already up around 15%, right? But all this talk that, if Iran closes the Hormuz Canal, then it's gonna go all the way to $200 or whatever. It doesn't matter if it actually goes to $200. What matters is that how the market is gonna react to it, if the war actually happens or if Iran decides to close the Hormuz Canal, right? So if this happens, then the market is gonna obviously react by pushing oil prices up, and everyone's gonna freak out. So probably expect other markets to go down, except maybe for the arms companies. So if the U.S. decides to get involved in all of that, it will affect negatively most of the markets, except probably oil and the arms stocks. And while you might say that this could not be in any way related to, let's say, Bitcoin, because it's a store of value, you have to remember that we are now in a PvP environment. So player versus player. There is no new liquidity jumping in. So if something goes up, something else has to go down. Okay? We're not in a scenario where everything goes up. Remember that. So you want to keep an eye on oil. You want to keep an eye on the news. And it doesn't matter like whether... Remember, it's more about how the market reacts to it. So you want to think of how will the market price any certain announcement or not, right? So you might want to keep an eye on the news, but you also want to keep an eye on what other people think will eventually happen, right? So because you might have some inside information or some information from following specific sources that nobody knows about. This is not always an advantage, because if the market eventually doesn't know this information that you know, or it doesn't react to it one way or another, then your information is not really that useful. Remember that. So obviously I'm keeping up with the news. It seems that there's a push from people around Trump for him to get involved. Trump does not want to get involved, but he might be just dragged into it. And some of the Middle Eastern news that I've been following, they're saying that Iran are actually more likely than not. I don't know how much percentage they gave, but they said that the more likely scenario that Iran has in mind is that the U.S. is going to get involved. So more likely, it's at least 51%, right? At least that's how they're positioning themselves from a military standpoint. And remember, there's a lot of stupid people in politics. Even if something doesn't make sense, they might be dragged into it, or someone might just force them into it. Like, because I know that we know that Trump does not want the war. Like, he's a really America first president. So, and all of his campaigns were just trashing the Democrats of all the wars they got involved to. But there's a lot of people around him that are pushing for him to get involved. So this is where the thumbs thing is happening. Like, is he gonna get in or is he not gonna get in? You want to keep an eye on that, and definitely expect probably Bitcoin to be bearish in this case. Now, some other analysis is that you do not want to be shorting Bitcoin if the US eventually get involved in the war outbreaks, because there are other things to short, like obviously altcoins and meme coins, which are expected to dump even faster, right? Sure, that's the case, but I would still see Bitcoin as a safer bet, from a safer perspective. Like, if you don't want to take things, depending on how big your portfolio is, right? So depending on how big your portfolio, you want to decide how safe or risky you want to take it while shorting, if you assume that the market is gonna dump, right? Because you do here have a safe stop loss at all-time high, which is how I organize my current short. Like, I know that Bitcoin is not going to all-time high anytime soon, so this is where my stop loss is, because if it does, then this is my invalidation, right? With meme coins, you don't really know where to put your invalidation Now, one strategy would be to look at where the meme coins price was at this all-time high and put the stop here, because you know that when Bitcoin reaches all-time high, the meme coin is not gonna reach the price it was here, because when money rotates, Bitcoin is always ahead, right? That's something I have in mind, but I feel that this is safer, because with alts, it's just things get too illogical sometimes. That's why. So you want to keep that in mind if you want to short when the dump happens. Now, let's say the dump happens. What do you expect? Obviously you want to keep up with the news and check the price. I think that the dump will happen over, let's say, a couple days, and then Bitcoin's just gonna hold and will just rally up. Why is that? Because there's just a lot of demand right now, and I don't see Bitcoin as being too overpriced. The only reason we have a bearish sign is because this went up too fast. That's why. Price has memory. It just needs to retest some of the gaps that it created. But the way I see it is probably similar to the dump back in August of last year with the Japanese carry trade on August 4th, August 6th, 7th. No, 4th, yeah. So we had those giant dips over a couple days. Then we had a retest, and then we kept rallying up. So I expect it to be like a single quick dump, because then everyone's just gonna sell, and there's gonna be probably a lot of limit orders waiting to fill in, and it will just take it from there. So you want to organize your trade to be around those 2-3 days time frame, obviously depending whether it's a weekend or it's not, whether the markets are open. This will all play a role. I know that Trump is taking that into consideration when he's gonna make the decision, because politicians, they always want to check how the market reacts to things, and they always want to take that into consideration. And the biggest proof to that is what happens on 2003 back in November. So in 2003, after the whole war in the Middle East erupted on October the 7th, what Biden did is that he made sure the ceasefire happened. I mean, this is obviously the Bitcoin chart, so it doesn't really mean anything, but when it comes to the stock market, Biden made sure that the ceasefire happens during Thanksgiving week, so that the So that doesn't basically affect the ARM sales stocks. Okay, so keep that in mind. And yeah, I still have a short open. Hopefully, be able to take profit sometime. I don't know when. We'll see how down things will go. We're still holding the 50 EMA, and yeah, we'll see then. And that was my crypto update. So, do we have any questions in the chat? No. No questions in the chat. Okay. So, couple updates on my jobs. I had an interview with Zoox. It's like a robo taxi company. So it's like Waymo. Well, I mean, okay, for those of you who don't live in the big cities, so Waymo is like an Uber, but it doesn't have a driver. It just operates on AI, right? That's it. It's the same thing like Uber. It's a taxi, but it just doesn't have a driver. So Zoox is more like a robo taxi, and interestingly, they build their own cars. It's not like they get in touch with the car manufacturing company and then they apply their AI tools to it. So they manufacture their own car, and it's not available in LA yet. It's so far available in San Francisco. And my interview, I mean, it wasn't great. I didn't get everything right because I was getting asked on some basic stuff in computer science, and I had like a problem involving classes. I wasn't able to figure it out completely. So we'll see how that goes. I had a hacherrank test, so with WorldQuant. So it's like a quantitative trading company, which is similar to what we've been doing here. Ask me a bunch of math questions, probability questions, and some coding part. So I did okay. I didn't get all the coding part correctly. There was some one involving pandas. I didn't know how to use it because I'm not familiar with the pandas formulas. I know them, but I don't have them memorized, and I didn't want to cheat, obviously. So we'll see how that goes. I don't have the pandas formulas memorized. So yeah, my claim got accepted for unemployment, as I mentioned, but I still didn't get any of the checks or the weekly payments. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, and my final update is that I watched Ballerina again. Yay! No, it was really good. Oh my god. Literally, John Wick is my favorite franchise of all time. I'm happy I got to watch Ballerina again. It's something that you need to watch on the big screen, right? So you enjoy the stunts, the grenade scene, the flame scene, and the skateboards. Definitely interesting. I think I'm will I watch it a third time? Maybe. I don't know if I get it. We'll see. I mean, I have other stuff to do right now. I need to work on my book, and we'll. If I want to discuss the movie, let's say in more detail again, I feel it was well written from the fact that the franchise is learning from its mistakes. And this is something really important because they made sure the movie is only 2 hours and 4 minutes. It was obvious they cut some scenes out of it so that it fits the time frame. Now remember, it's easier to cut than to add later, right? So you always want to make sure you have more scenes than what the time you need, and then you can cut accordingly. And so they are learning from this because if you notice in the second movie, it took it a little bit of time for the tempo to build up. There was kind of a little bit of unnecessary time wasted at the beginning of the second movie. This was not the case in this movie. And in the first movie, things weren't as smooth. And the reason the first movie is so good is because you don't know who John Wick is yet. You don't know how the world is built, right? So they were able to make sure that everything is smooth, so that she's moving forward towards a one-on-one eventually with the person she wants to kill, right? And the first movie, it wasn't smooth because there was the son and then there was the father. It was kind of like this, right? I mean, yeah. So, and in the second movie and the first movie also, in the second movie, I think there was parts where it seemed that John Wick could have been killed. If you noticed in the second movie, like this part where he had his back towards one of the assassins and she shot him in the back instead of shooting him in the head. um, yeah, so these small details, they were worked on, they were improved, and this is why this franchise is just it's being really organized. It's moving forward. It's learning from mistakes, and it keeps working on getting better and better. So you have new characters right now, which is how you keep the story relevant. Because in the end, the longer the story, the more you need to have us invested in the characters. Yes, the stunts are good. Yes, the visuals, the music, whatever. But remember, the longer the thing is, the more you need the characters, the more you need the specificity of who you are following. So definitely, Ballerina is a movie I would recommend, and I wouldn't say it's the best of the John Wick franchise, and because I don't know, it's just I feel that the second movie had a lot better tension, especially with Common, because Common did a really had a really great presence in the movie. So great job casting him, and with the fight scenes, like it was all funny and the situational comedy and all of that. So that was really good. And but definitely, Ballerina brought new perspective to the franchise. It showed us how the stunts were obviously need to change because they need to fit the size of the person who's fighting, right? So the specificity of how stunts need to take into consideration the environment and the person fighting. Obviously, the environment we saw it with John Wick, right? Depending on which weapon he's using and all of that. But definitely recommend watching Ballerina if you haven't. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to respond, and I'll see you all in my